Hello guys. So my recording stopped working at that time. So these are the cars that can still pass in the past and in the future. Oh my god! Ow. Here we go.
This is the small overlap crash test. It simulates what happens when the front corner of a vehicle collides with another vehicle or an object like a tree or utility pole. It's quite demanding because it concentrates the crash forces on only 25% of the vehicle's structure. This compares to the moderate overlap crash test, which has 40% overlap, and the full frontal evaluation, which encompasses a 100% overlap. When the test was introduced about a decade ago, it caught many automakers by surprise. Initial vehicle performance in this new test was largely a disaster. In response, many automakers quickly modified their vehicles, employing various offensive and defensive tactics to reduce intrusion and crash forces on occupants. But this improvement hasn't been universal. Despite having over 10 years to adapt, some automakers are still producing vehicles that struggle in this critical safety assessment. Today, we'll examine which models continue to lag behind.
Okay, let's see what cars are not making it.
The Expedition structure completely failed this test. Look how dramatic the collapse is on both the driver and passenger sides. Shockingly, both A-pillars separated from the rest of the structure. Intrusion exceeded 50 centimeters on both sides of the vehicle, a remarkably poor showing. The real-world implications are frightening. This failure not only increases the risk of injuries in the Expedition, but leaves very little survival space for the occupants. The driver dummy recorded a high risk of injury to the right leg, and a moderate risk to the left one. To make matters worse, the driver dummy slipped off the airbag, leaving its head vulnerable to making contact with intruding structural material. The Toyota Grand Highlander has up to 10 centimeters of intrusion in the upper compartment. This represents a concerning amount for such a new vehicle design. It also has noticeably more intrusion than most of Toyota's other new products. Additionally, the dummy's head rolled off the airbag, greatly increasing the risk of the head striking a hard object. The Dodge Durango exhibits significant intrusion, with up to 30 centimeters in the lower compartment and 21 centimeters in the upper one. This level of intrusion exposes the left leg and foot to high injury readings. Additionally, the dummy's head rolled off the airbag, and the side curtain airbag does not extend far enough forward to shield the head from contacting hard surfaces. The Mitsubishi Mirage also has high intrusion readings, up to 26 centimeters in the lower compartment and 19 centimeters in the upper one. This significant intrusion exposes the left leg to a high risk of injuries. Additionally, the seatbelt failed to adequately restrain the dummy, allowing it to travel too far forward. Compounding the problem, the dummy's head also slid off the airbag, exposing it to a risk of injuries. The Honda Prologue demonstrates excellent structural integrity. However, within the cabin, the passenger dummy's interaction with the safety systems was less than ideal. It largely missed the front airbag and slid into the gap between the front and curtain airbags. This increases the risk that the head will come into contact with a hard surface, like a windowsill or the inside of the A-pillar. The Ford Mustang experiences a moderately high level of structural intrusion, with measurements reaching up to 17 centimeters in the lower compartment and 16 centimeters in the upper one. Additionally, the seatbelt permitted the dummy to travel too far forward, and the dummy's head rolled off the airbag, thus increasing the risk of it striking the A-pillar. Before we delve into the remaining underperformers, let's pause and consider why we should pay attention to these test results. Do they actually translate into real-world safety? According to a 2023 study by the Insurance Institute, a driver in a good-rated vehicle is 12% less likely than a driver in a poor-rated one to be killed in a frontal crash. This statistic not only underscores the importance of these tests, but also validates their effectiveness in enhancing vehicle safety. The Chevy Tahoe exhibits significant intrusion, with with up to 32 centimeters in the lower compartment and 18 centimeters in the upper one. This level of intrusion subjects the passenger dummy's right foot to a high risk of injury, while also posing a moderate risk to the lower left leg. What's striking about the Tahoe is that the severe intrusion issues are exclusively on the passenger side. The driver's side fares significantly better, indicating that GM has fortified only that side of the truck. The Mitsubishi Outlander Sport shows intrusion of up to 15 centimeters in the lower compartment and 13 centimeters in the upper one. The dummy's head slid off the airbag, and the problem is compounded by the curtain airbag not extending sufficiently forward, thereby exposing the dummy's head to the risk of striking a hard surface. This pink paint mark shows where the dummy's head made contact with the interior trim. The Acura ZDX shares a platform with the Honda Prologue. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that it struggles with the exact same problem. The passenger dummy largely missed the primary airbag and moved into the gap between the front and curtain airbags. This leaves the dummy vulnerable to coming into contact with hard surfaces. The Chevy Silverado experiences significant intrusion, with up to 30 centimeters in the lower compartment and 20 centimeters in the upper one. This level of intrusion places the passenger dummy's lower right leg at a high risk of injury, while also presenting a moderate risk to the lower left leg. Like many vehicles we've seen today, this one shows just how little survival space remains for the occupant after a crash. Even at just 40 miles per hour, the damage is significant. Imagine how much worse it would be at higher speeds. In the Honda Ridgeline, the passenger dummy's head slid off the side of the airbag and moved far enough forward to strike the dashboard. This dummy also recorded high injury readings for the right knee and moderate readings to the lower right leg. Two other vehicles also underperformed in this safety test. While we have access to the evaluation results, video footage is unavailable since these tests were conducted by the manufacturers themselves. The Volkswagen Taos, first introduced for the 2022 model year, exhibited concerning levels of passenger side intrusion. Specifically, there was up to 15 centimeters of intrusion in both the lower and upper compartments. Such performance is disappointing, especially for a relatively new vehicle design. However, the Nissan Titan Crew Cab fared even worse, showing significant structural intrusion with measurements reaching up to 33 centimeters in the lower compartment and 16 centimeters in the upper one. These figures highlight a serious safety concern for this model. These vehicles all represent frustrating disappointments. However, there are many other vehicles that have shown incredible improvements. This next video explores the remarkable progress in auto safety in recent years.
Goodbye.
Thanks for watching.